And welcome in to another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. Troy Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who is always comfortable in the personal area. He is Cody Stavenhagen. How are we doing?
Players got to wear cups, man. It would solve a lot of things. I mean, it amazes me. These pro athletes these days not out here wearing cups.
Yes, let's start out the podcast with a little bit of humor, given what we've seen these past 2 days on the field at Comerica Park, Cody. So Tarik Skubal is okay. Tarik Skubal is okay. He just had a little bit of a like I said, uncomfortable in the personal area, I think is what AJ Hinch described it as. And what did Tarik say? He said, like, what you think happened or something like that.
Yes, that's what he said.
Which, I kind of respect that as well. And look, to be honest, to just kind of keep the metaphor going here, it does kind of feel like a kick in the groin watching the Tigers flail repeatedly at the plate right now, Cody, and losing these close games. And I'll tell you, if you want, like, even just when they get an extra base hit, like a double or something, doing like the punch down and kind of the groin. I'm kind of tired of the groin stuff with the Tigers. Kicking the groin, pitchers in the groin, punching the groin. It feels like a kick in the groin watching this team right now as we record this after a 2-1 defeat at the hands of the Houston Astros, of course, after losing a series 4-2 against the Yankees on Wednesday. So it's going to be a tough one to thread the needle here, Cody.
Are we threading the needle right off the bat?
I'm just saying it's going to be a tough one because what we're watching right now is the execution of a not functional baseball team. So halfway through the season, we are looking at a 34-47 record for the Tigers. Obviously, 13 below 500. I don't even care about the standings right now. And it's a shame because Skubal, he gave up the home runs, and that was like the anomaly of the past 2 days. But 6 innings, there, 9 strikeouts. Like, he was excellent for the vast majority of that game. It's just like Goldschmidt and Dominguez, tagged him, and then Melton perfect tonight through 5.1. He gives up the 1 home run, and of course, like, Kenley Jansen can't can't hold the Astros there, and ends up being a 2-1 game. I've watched a lot of teams, Cody, over the years, and not just the Tigers, that like have good, sometimes like pretty excellent starting pitching, but not a lot of offense to show for it. And I always associate those teams with not being well-run organizations because, look, the hardest thing to do in sports, right, is to hit a baseball. We understand that. So, by extension, probably the hardest thing to do about building a team is to build a team full of guys that can hit the baseball. So, like, all that is apparent. However, we have watched this offense repeatedly come up short in crucial situations, and it's kind of simple for the Tigers this year when you have excellent or good to excellent starting pitching as they have consistently this year in that streak of 4 earned runs or less from their starter. This is from the graphic on the Detroit Sports Network. 30-12 when you score 4 runs or more. 4-35 when you score 3 or less. It's pretty simple. It's hard to do, but it's pretty simple. This offense just isn't getting it done.
No, they've had their moments. They've had their moments this month. You can still go on Fangraphs and sort by the month of June and be pleased with what you see, with where the Tigers rank in a bunch of various categories. But then you watch the games, and you watch games like the last couple of nights, and it's a little bit of a reminder. This team's capable of getting hot, capable of having some good days. Do they really have enough? Do they have enough to sustain it? And your bottom of your order is James Outman, Zach McKinstry, Hao-Yu Lee. Like, is that going to cut it? Even some guys more toward the middle of your order, Colt Keith, who I still really want to believe in, has just had some ugly at-bats. Kerry Carpenter, who we've talked about a lot. Boy likes to chase him some breaking balls. Spencer Torkelson, never really know what you're going to get. Even Riley Green at times. It really does feel like McGonigal and Dingler lately, the only guys you really have confidence when they are stepping up to the plate. Sometimes Riley you can throw in there. Hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports, so it's not about necessarily assembling a team that can hit the ball, that can be murderer's row, but consistent at-bat quality has been an issue for the Tigers for pretty much my entire time covering them, and maybe everyone thinks that about the team they cover or are a fan of, but yeah, there's just still too many empty at bats, and like one thing spinning it forward, like if the Tigers are within striking distance by the trade deadline, might they make a run for it? One way to view that is like, I don't know, man. Someone's going to have to make a tough call if that were to end up being the case. And if you're within a handful of games but still out of it, do you really have enough? Is it in there? I don't know. It's not over. This team can play well, but man, I don't know if they can sustain it.
I think the answer is a no. Yes. Is it enough? No, it's obviously not enough. Like if I were to like again, I like to do this exercise where it's like if I were to tell you in January these things, you'd be like, yeah, it's probably not going so high. McKinstry being a -1 plus WAR player, and was he like 180 something or whatever. And I know we've talked about him kind of getting some line drive backs, but obviously it hasn't happened consistently enough. Wenzel not having any of the upside, and of course the injury. We understand that. James Outman's in center field. You've probably been like, who? You know what I mean? And then like Hyu Lee, you might have been able to hold on to something, and give him credit. He had a base hit today, but like the answer is no. It's not enough right now. Like it's just it clearly is not. Now, is it in there? That's the complicated question because there is, as I've said, proof of concept of all those guys that you listed there having a quote in there, but it's not there right now. So like when it's not there, you're not deep enough clearly to overcome this. And the Tigers were built to lean on internal ascension among their young players. And in a lot of ways, it has not happened. In various cases, it has. But in a lot of ways, it hasn't. And then you throw in the random bad luck stuff and the injuries and all that stuff, and you have a formula for 34 and 47. So, like, in a way, as much as I, like, wake up every day thinking they really could go on a run. Like, I do believe that. I wake up every day thinking they could go on a run. They just don't seem to have it in them right now, and that's the frustrating thing. And I feel bad even thinking about that on July 25th. But that's that. I can only react to what I'm seeing on the field, Cody. And there were so many balls today that Imai threw that, again, I don't want to Monday morning quarterback this, but some of those sliders, I mean, did they reach the end of the grass before they hit the ground and the Tigers were swinging at them? Like seriously, like it was a poor game at the plate and just like kind of deflating. You give, and then Dingler has the home run there, and he number 19. That's still crazy too. But besides McGonigal and Dingler, and I'm gonna throw Riley Green in that. People are down on Riley. Like I feel like I know enough about Riley that I'm not gonna dismiss what he does at the plate. But other than those three, it's kind of it's a hope and a prayer, and that's not a formula to compete even in what is a hugely weak American League. So
you could tell AJ Hinch was disappointed after the game. I think because this wasn't necessarily like you just run into a buzzsaw starter. Like Tetsuya, you may enter this game with like a 6 ERA. Like he's not that good. Talking to Hinch, Tigers hitters, you could tell. His slider, his MO is kind of a varying slider. Sometimes it's depthy, sometimes it's more like a cutter, sometimes it literally backs up, I think by design. And so I think that's what was tough, like getting a recognition, seeing the pitch out of hand and knowing where it was going to end up was tough on him. But Hinch said something to the effect of like, he doesn't have a pattern. And I don't think he meant that in a positive way. Like, they got beat by a guy who's just not all that good. Granted, his last 2 outings have been very strong, but that's a guy if the pitcher doesn't really have a plan, you should devise a better plan at the plate to beat that guy. And they didn't do it. They were chasing spin. I mean, it's fastball slider. Eliminate one, do some damage. They couldn't do that. It was a discouraging day. Coming off a series loss to the Yankees, you lost a Skubal start, then you lost a Troy Melton start where he was perfect through 5 1/3. I mean, that's pretty deflating.
Yes, it is deflating, and I'll tell you what, Cody, I need to inflate myself and get some more excitement, which is why I've been looking for the best deal on tickets for Thursday, January 2nd. The Tigers are coming to Texas, and I am going to be there, which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. We got MLB season. I hope you guys took advantage during the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs. World Cup tickets, ever heard of it? They are on SeatGeek right now. It's so easy to use the app. I went there. I had so many options to choose from. There are so many great options, Cody, and I'm going to be in section 102. So look for me on Thursday, section 102 at Globe Life Field. I love using SeatGeek. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. That's what I did. Green means good. Red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And, of course, I have a code for you guys. This is the code that I use. Territory10 for 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any MLB tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. All right. Speaking of Tarik Skubal, on a serious note, I just want to say I feel bad for you guys out there that were disappointed for his trade value with the home runs that he gave up. I know you're really hurting about that. But in all seriousness, Cody, Skubal, really is the leader of this team. He is the face of the organization right now, and he is like the one whose voice has the greatest weight, right? And we talked about him having sort of like the call to arms last week and how the Tigers responded. And he kind of has a similar vibe even after Wednesday's game. And so I'm curious, as somebody who covers him, who I feel like has a pretty good feel for him, like, what's your read on Skubal right now, given just everything that's gone on? The team, the stuff with his arm, and sort of like kind of us learning more information about it as time progresses, and then you just kind of have the cloud hanging over with like the trade deadline, the free agency, hell, even union labor relations and all that stuff, which we'll get to here in a second. Like, what's kind of your read on like how Skubal is kind of carrying everything?
That's funny. I talked to Tarik Skubal for like 20 minutes on Thursday. I'll share all that with you guys one of these days. Kind of because some of those same questions were on my mind. Like, this guy has just been through a lot. Everything he does now is a storyline. You work your ass off. You work your whole life to get to the top of your profession, and the trade-off for that is you're now part of this machine, right? You were part of this multi-million, billion-dollar industry. You're part of the machine. You are the face of the trade deadline, all that good stuff. It's got to be kind of hard, right? And I think if he had truth serum, it probably has been hard. But I do think the competitor in Skubal is kind of wired to try his best to block that out, or kind of put on blinders. And a lot of athletes are like that, because he's in the middle of the season. When you're in a Major League Baseball season, it's not great for people's personal life, because it's just hard to focus on a lot else other than like the task at hand and what you are doing and your routine and all that good stuff. Like, he's locked in on it right now. I think it's a tough vibe for everyone when the team is losing games. When Skubal, who I do think, all things considered, was pretty close to back to himself his last outing. He had a 40% whiff rate. The changeup was nasty. Paul Goldschmidt has just kind of owned him, beat him twice. If Skubal doesn't elevate the changeup to Dominguez, he gives up 2 runs, Tigers win. We're talking about, wow, what a great outing. And that's the margin of success. Like, that's the life in the big leagues, right? One pitch you messed up, or you could argue probably shouldn't be battling 9-10 pitches with Dominguez anyway. Probably should have blown him out, got out of there. So, like, maybe there's still a level or two for him to climb to be like Cy Young form Tarik Skubal, but the stuff is there. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the trade value. We've seen in all 3 of his outings, he's gotten slightly better each time the stuff is there. But I think this is difficult for him. I think he's being the voice. He's saying the right things. I think he believes the right things. I think he has the right attitude, and yet none of that makes it easy.
Yeah, and I don't mean this pointedly, but there is an element of you reach the mountaintop and the only play people try to knock they build you up to knock you down a little bit. And I think he has experience. I mean, he certainly experienced that with the whole Team USA thing. Of course, now we have more context and all that stuff. So, once he becomes potentially like the richest pitcher on the planet, like that will only continue, right? So that's just sort of that's the game. That's the game outside the game, I guess you would say. And I do like you have kind of raised, I don't want to say raised concern, but you've said like, all right, you don't need to get an argument with a couple years ago, get an argument with the umpire every outing. You don't need to get into a shouting match with somebody on the bench every outing. I do hope that like the whole um, call the arms thing, like I didn't do good enough, like that kind of stuff, which I do believe to be authentic. I hope it doesn't get to the point where it feels cliche. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I
Because
know what would
sometimes
help that. Winning some ball games.
getting some hits.
Getting
That
some
would
hits. Let's go.
well, there is speaking of labor, and obviously Skubal is A, directly involved, and B, will be directly impacted by this upcoming CBA. We did get a Major League Baseball, I guess, plan, proposal, leak, whatever you want to call it, for
It's not
another
leaks. They're just
stipend.
putting it out there. It's just all out in the open, this
Yeah, yeah,
negotiation. It's kind of
yeah,
wild
leak was a
tactics
bad
from
word.
both the league and the union.
Yeah, leak was a bad word there. Thank you for correcting me. But the gist of it is they'll raise the minimum salary to 1 million for players with 2 years service time, 900K with the potential for more if you're 0 to 1 service time. No more qualifying offer. No more deferred salary on future contracts. Arbitration would be the same, and then the sort of the headline is that there would be a max contract. So um, the max contract you could sign as a free agent would be 5 years for 202 million. If you sign with your current team, then it could be 6 years for a total of 265 million. So if you guys are NBA fans as well, just think of it as like bird rights essentially for the NBA. I think MLB is trying to call it cornerstone player, something like that would be the terminology. So there's obviously a lot of worry about being able to resign Tarik Skubal. There has been, throughout the entirety of this process. That's partially why it's been a storyline, right? My only thought about this is that if you, it, this might be your best case scenario if you're a Tigers fan to re-sign Tarik Skubal, is that he doesn't sign before the CBA and somehow this gets agreed to, and then all of a sudden everybody's got the same contract offer except you can offer one more year and what was it 56 63 more $1 million. So I guess maybe that's something to hold on hope for, Cody, is that you get fixed costs and then Skubal will come back because you're the only one that can offer the year and the extra money.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to engage in the hypotheticals because all these proposals, I think, are just kind of noise until about February when the negotiating starts getting serious. I think we might miss a full season before the players agreed to this structure. It's pretty limiting. I don't think people should miss a full season. I don't think they will. I think there's too much incentive to get a deal done, which is why I don't think this will ultimately happen. So we're just talking for the sake of talking here. If for some reason there were an inkling that this was going to be like a real structure, then you'd bank Tarik Skubal would be signing before December 1st, going to the highest bidder. And maybe a reminder like why there might be a lot of action before December 1st this offseason, just given the uncertainty of what might happen when the CBA is agreed to. I don't really think it's going to be this structure, but it might be something different than what we're used to. So yeah, I bet Tarik Skubal will sign before December 1st. If not an extra year, and if all things are considered equal, like, yeah, sure, that would change the calculus a little bit because there is no highest bidder if multiple teams are offering the same thing. Then it would be like, okay, what are Skubal's priorities really? Is it where he wants to live and be close to his family? Is it where he feels most likely to win a championship? Or is it like stay with the organization that drafted him? That would be kind of a fascinating decision, but we'll probably never come to a point where that is the decision.
Yeah, very true. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and I think Cody, your mic is a little maybe unplugged or something. It was a little echoey there. But we're gonna take a quick break, and then afterward, I'm gonna get to a little thing that I've noticed that might help explain the Tigers' hitting problems. But first, a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, the MLB season is in full swing, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home of home runs. So, are you ready to play your game? Head over to fanduel.com/podcast to get started. That's fanduel.com/podcast to opt in for daily dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball. Swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, coming back here, something I started to pick up on this week, Cody. Just randomly things kind of pop in your head as you watch these games, and the Tigers. First of all, go back to Sky Harris's introductory press conference. He talked about dominating the strike zone. Right, that was on both sides of the plate. That was this like what he desired this team's MO to be, and then you throw in AJ Hinch and the coaching staff, and kind of looking for every edge. Like, obviously, they thought the offense would be better than it has performed thus far, but they also aren't ignorant to the fact that, something like this could happen, right? I think that is fair to say. So I would have anticipated the Tigers being one of the better teams in baseball at kind of taking advantage from a batter's perspective of the ABS challenge system. And so I went and looked at the numbers. So Dylan Dingler, no surprise. He's done it 10 times. McGonigal 17 times. 60% overturn rate for Dingler. 70% overturn rate for McGonigal. That's well above average. But then you look at the rest of the team, and it's a bunch of 2s and 3s, like challenge attempts. And even Jake Rogers, who I know, is not an everyday player, but he's a catcher. He's only done it 3 times as a batter, and he has yet to win one, actually. So this to me is one little stat point that explains a team that is struggling to kind of put everything together. When you're 9-16 in one-run games, when you're 4-35 in games in which you score 3 or little runs, these are opportunities to get in better counts, to see better pitches. What this tells me is that they're just not confident at the plate and in the strike zone as I don't want to say they should be, but as they need to be given everything else that has gone on. So what are your thoughts on the Tigers lack of use and in some ways misuse of the ABS challenge system, not using it to an advantage like it could be?
Yeah, I don't know. There are certainly times I think they should use it more, but then let's just sort what batting teams use it the most. Number 1's the Minnesota Twins. They're terrible. 2 is the Houston Astros. They're not very good. 3 is the Cleveland Guardians. They're okay. 4 is the Reds. They're not that good. 5 is the Yankees. Oh, hey, they're good. 6 is the Mets. They're terrible. 7 is the Angels. They're terrible. 8 is the Rockies. They're terrible. So that all leads me to think there's really no correlation between who uses the challenge system the most and being the best team.
Well, does it make you feel better that Jahmai Jones is 2 for 2?
I don't think that moves the needle much.
But look, but if it's a huge variance, which is that's what you just outlined right there, then it's still opportunity had, or in this case not had, to try to gain some sort of edge, which is really what the Tigers are, a try to gain an edge team, and this is an example of them not doing it. It's the same thought process that goes into all the pinch hitting and even pitching decisions, is that you're trying to get as any edge that you possibly can, even if it's a small one. And this is an instance of the team just not being comfortable with the players. It's on them. not being comfortable enough in the box to know when to challenge. And some of these are blatant misses by the umpire. Not a lot of them, but we saw a lot this week. Blatant misses by the umpire that they could take advantage of, and they're just not. So if you're looking for something that isn't skill based, it's field based, it's baseball IQ based, this is an area that, in my opinion, they're lacking. That is a missed opportunity.
If you look a little closer on Baseball Savant, the Tigers have gained 8.1 runs as batters using the ABS that ranks 8th in the league. So they've done all right. They've done all right. Since the start, this was like an intricate balance between volume and situation. Is about how often you use it, or is about when you use it and when you do it correctly. Based on the fact, the Tigers have gained an estimated 8 runs throughout. I'd say they've used it pretty selectively in some pretty good spots, and there are certainly times I think they could use it more, but I don't think that's the reason they're 13 games below 500.
I think last year, the way we talked about like the taking the extra bases and all that stuff, and how that was like part of their MO. If the Tigers were 47-34 and they were excellent at the ABS system as batters, we would be talking about it in that same light, because it'd be one of those things that they're just doing at a high clip that's creating runs, it's creating wins, and etc. And it's just, maybe it's not happening for a lot of people in baseball. The 8 runs is good, but I just feel like missed opportunities there, and just like everything else going on with this team, the margin is so thin. You got to get all that you can right now. So anyway, all right, let's wrap up with this, Cody. We saw back-to-back outings this week from Enmanuel De Jesus, and I wanted to kind of go and look at some of his recent outings. Now, I know he hasn't been used a lot in high leverage situations, so I understand that, but he gave up 2 hits on Wednesday. Was that Wednesday or Tuesday? It doesn't matter. They all run together. And he hadn't given up a hit since before that, since May 22nd. He hasn't given up a run since May 18th. He's been I don't want to say he's an innings eater, but he usually goes out there and completes at least one. This is a guy that was given a decent contract, and he earned his way onto the 40-man with an excellent spring, and then the season started, and it was kind of ugly, and he kind of got demoted to the blowout role. Either way, is it time to kind of give him? And I think AJ has started to do this, but will we start seeing De Jesus pitch a little bit more in higher leverage situations? Has he kind of earned that, in your opinion?
I think what he's doing right now is working well for everyone. I don't think there is any need to really change his usage. Maybe he can pitch a little more. He's been used very sparingly, which is one reason I'm hesitant to leap to any conclusion here. Other reasons I feel that way, you have 2 other lefties in the pen. Drew Summers has emerged as perhaps nasty. And then Tyler Holton's been a lot better. Strike throwing's been a lot better. So he's still probably your 3rd best left-hander. What he does give you is length, multi-inning. So I'm not trying to push him into like a leverage role, especially with Will Vest looking more like himself. I think he's a nice option to have. It's okay to have guys who are clearly labeled as your quote-unquote losing bullpen. You want them to still be pitching well. You want them to be options for if you need them in a pinch. If he continues to pitch well, I'm sure we will see him more often, see him in some different sort of spots, but right now, I don't know. Keep doing the job. There are worse things than kind of being in the mop-up role. Unless one of your other lefties really starts faltering, I don't see a reason to tweak De Jesus's role too much.
All right, and and in fairness, it will probably happen in some fashion because the hand will be forced. That's just how how these things work, unfortunately. But it is good to see him kind of find his form a little bit more. And then, like I said, sometimes these mop up opportunities end up being like W's for you on your baseball card because the team comes back. If the team is capable of hitting the ball, which not as much recently. All right, Cody, anything else before we jet out of
I
here?
thought we were going to talk about Troy Melton a little bit more. I
No,
mean, what
you're
an
right. I'm
outing,
sorry.
God.
We glossed over that way too much. I was prepared to have this be a really late night because if there's a a no hitter or a perfect game, like you got to do your thing, um, and so like we would have been burning the midnight oil, talking about the greatness of Troy Melton. We don't have to burn the midnight oil, but we can still talk about the greatness of Troy Melton, who what do you have 5 pitches that he got punch outs on
I think
tonight, something
so.
like that, like just absolutely, Tigers hitters were um in shambles, but for the most part the Astros hitters were in shambles against Troy Melton too. A couple deep counts here and there, but he wasn't perfect, even though he was almost perfect.
I mean, what an outing. Really impressive. Sitting 99 with the fastball, Cutter's hitting 95. I mean, it was just nasty. It was another level. He's been really good, and this was, I think, his absolute best, and kind of a reminder, like, this guy still has not pitched this much. This guy's 2 years removed from having a 5 ERA in Double A. He was still tweaking some things. He's still getting better, but then you look at it, and he's pitched 83 and a third innings in the major leagues right now. His career ERA is 2.59. Like, all this guy has done is dominate. He's been better than Jackson Jobe. He's been better than Tarik Skubal at the start of his career. He has just entered and done his job, and again, still getting better. Continuing to miss bats a little bit more like he did Thursday night is probably really the key for him. I think he's like bottom 7 percentile in strikeout rate, bottom 14 percentile in whiff rate. So keep missing some bats with that cutter, and you can kind of answer probably the biggest question. Really encouraging. Terrible that the Tigers lost such a game, but as I kind of wrote, like, if you want to really zoom out, this guy could really alter how you feel next year. Let's say you lose Skubal. If Melton continues to assert himself as a top of the rotation type guy, I mean, you feel a lot better about your rotation. You feel a lot better about the 2027 Tigers. It might be Scott Harris's best hope right now might be Troy Melton continuing to ascend to being a frontline starter. This is an important guy for the franchise. I think it's been really fun to watch him continue to pitch and continue to find different ways to get better in such a short time period.
Yeah, he is. You mentioned Skubal at the start of his career. We can throw Mize in there too, and some of these other kind of top pitching prospects that we've kind of seen blossom into. In Skubal's case, the best pitcher on the planet. In Mize's case, an all-star, and the guy is pretty damn good right now. The confidence level that you have, and then I guess I'm speaking for myself, in Melton right now greatly surpasses what we were seeing from Skubal early on, from Mize early on, throwing the guys that didn't necessarily work out. Matt Manning, like Alex Faedo, like, Ty Madden, like all these guys, technically higher draft picks, all those guys than Melton, and even Jackson Jobe, like the completeness of which Melton throws a game is far beyond his years, and one that does make you just kind of, if you want to let your mind wander to something positive, like what could this really be, is an actual really exciting thought. And again, had they won today, we'd be waxing poetic about a lot of things, and he would have been near the top of the list. And unfortunately, it's it's our fault. I'll take the L on that. I just kind of got in my feels about other stuff, but Melton was great. Melton was great, and you have to wonder what his ceiling is, because if this is the floor, look out. So.
For sure. The only other thing I wanted to say, I did. I saw Scott Harrison, Jeff Greenberg leaving the clubhouse after the game, and it almost felt bad for them. They just looked like dudes who had a bad day at work. And probably because it was a bad day at work. Because every loss right now for the Tigers is a bad day on the job. You're really starting to feel the weight of each game. And ways good and bad. It feels great when they win. The losses hit, I feel like they're hitting heavy. As they should, given what's at stake here.
Yeah, good note. I mean, I feel it just watching on TV. Just like the deflation, as I said earlier, and then just the elation of 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 the wins and what could be possible. Like I said, I do believe it's in there, but it's not good enough right now. So we will continue to monitor it every step of the way. Thank you, everybody, for following us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I am at Kieran_Steckley, pod page at Tiger Territory _, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. You guys know what to do. We appreciate all of you. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.